Okay. With the advent of level 10 cores, I've been circling back and beginning my new weapon videos, which a lot of you had been asking for, particularly for Glay. I regret to inform you this is not going to be the Glay gun video. However, we are going to be talking about Smithereens, in particular Smithereens for Sharen, because Sharen has the active camouflage effect, which has long been underappreciated since the ambush bonus gave a damage multiplier, but only to one single shot, so people would use it as a gimmick build for snipers to blow off fucking half of a Colossus's HP with a single sniper shot, but then after that, you were dead in the water. But with the release of Ultimate Sharen, we got the Ambushed Transcendent mod, which makes it so we can still get access to that multiplier, but Ambushed makes it so as long as you're getting crits, you have a 30% chance to re-enter the active camouflage state. So if you use something that can crit a lot, you can re-enter the invisibility and get your damage multiplier back. Pair that with something like Smithereens, which has the ability to, so long as all of your pellets land on the same target, grant every single pellet 100% crit chance, and that ends up working in your favor to great effect. So much so that you end up killing Gluttony in 2 seconds. We'll circle back to what mods you want to use on Sharen later, but for now let's talk about the unique effects of Smithereens as well as how you want to build it. So as we just said, if you land all of your pellets on a target, you get 100% crit chance for every single pellet, as well as a base damage increase on your crit damage of 10%. Something important to note though, is that this does not mean all pellets are guaranteed to crit. This only means that it gives every pellet 100% crit chance. What's the difference? Crit chance is subject to critical hit resistance. So if you're shooting at a Colossus, you're still going to notice a lot of your pellets don't actually crit. This is normal. This is not a bug. This is intended. The second part of Smithereens' effect is called amplification, and on landing a critical hit, you get amplification for 2 seconds, which adds 4 to the base pellet count of the shotgun. Smithereens has a base pellet count of 10. This adds 4 to it, and then if you use something like Shell Up, which is a 30% pellet count increase, that increases your pellet count from 14 up to 18, I believe. When it comes to how you want to build, there are going to be 2 very specific ways. One is the Gluttony gimmick build, in which you absolutely blow him off the fucking map, and then the other is a generalized build for everything else. The Gluttony gimmick build comes into effect because Gluttony's balancer, which is his knee, happens to be weak to the exact physical type that Smithereens is. So as such, you end up taking Overwhelm, which once you get the advantage affinity bonus, which is burst, pierce, all that shit at the start of the game you thought was irrelevant, that actually matters a whole lot here. Once you get a type advantage proc, then it increases your weak point damage and it also increases the affinity coefficient of type bonuses by quite a lot. If you are ever in a scenario that can proc Overwhelm, Overwhelm will always be one of the best possible damage increases you can add to your weapon. So in this case, it adds a shitload of damage to your Gluttony shotgun. When it comes to the other mods though, we're taking Rifling Reinforcement, Action and Reaction. Those are standard. No one's gonna fucking bat an eye at those. Better Concentration, Concentration Priority for more crit damage. We do not take Better Insight, again, because you are already going to get 100% crit rate on your weapon. You do not need any more crit rate, only build for more damage. We take Shell Up to increase our pellet count, and this does modify the pellet count that is added from amplification, as I mentioned earlier. So we have a 10 pellet count base plus the 4 add-on Shell Up, and that gives you 18 pellets per shot. We take fire rate up just to disperse our damage quite a bit faster, and then when it comes to weak point damage, we have weak point sight, overwhelm, and then targeted vulnerability. And then lastly, we take real life fighter for more firearm attack. A lot of people are going to be a little concerned at a glance when it comes to overwhelm or real life fighter, but something to remember is that overwhelm and real life fighter gains stacks per hit, not per shot. And that means if you shoot and all 18 pellets land on a weak point, that means you instantly gain all stacks of Overwhelm as well as Real Life Fighter. So especially if you're aiming at a large weak point, you never have to worry about losing stacks because you are always going to have a gajillion pellets that are proccing the stack effect. So you're going to be fine. When it comes to substats, we are taking Firearm Attack, Critical Hit Damage, Weak Point Damage, Bonus to Colossus. Bonus to Colossus isn't quite mandatory here, believe it or not. Technically, it would be best in slot on the substats, but when it comes to the cores, you're going to notice we don't actually take bonus to Colossus anywhere. We take critical hit damage in our free slot, firearm attack in our orange slot, and then we take recoil in one of our yellows and accuracy in another. A lot of people are going to be confused seeing firearm attack here instead of Colossus attack, especially because we have Colossus attack as a substat. But if you actually compare, for Sharen specifically, the damage difference between a firearm attack core and a Colossus core, you would lose about 3.5% damage taking a Colossus core. The exact breakpoint for this, by the way, is if you have a firearm attack percent core that is 66% or greater, then that will be better than a perfect 550% Colossus core. Now this is not a situation that you should apply to other guns. This is explicitly unique to Sharen, because Sharen's unique multiplier comes in after your firearm percent attack is calculated, but before type bonuses and faction bonuses get factored. Because of this, the multiplier doesn't actually affect Colossus attack, meaning firearm attack percent scales way harder than any faction bonus ever could when it comes to Sharen in particular. So if you are going to be building Sharen, you don't actually give a shit about Colossus attack on your Smithereens. Now let's talk about a scenario that isn't Gluttony's knee. He moves at the speed of a dying turtle, he's easy as shit to hit. Not every boss is going to be like that, and not every boss is going to have a knee whose weakness is so conveniently the same physical type as Smithereens. Real life fighter, as we discussed before, adds a shitload of firearm attack percent. We want to keep that. But when it comes to overwhelm, it absolutely should go. And when it comes to what you should replace it with, it's just going to be the elemental enhancement mod of whatever you're fighting against. So if you're against gluttony, you'd use fire enhancement. If you're against swamp walker, you'd use electric enhancement. But that is actually the only mod swap you would make. But this is under the assumption that you are going to be blasting the shit out of a given weak point on an enemy, because in most cases that is where Sharen is best suited. And then lastly, I cannot recommend it if you are in a scenario where you absolutely are not going to be hitting any weak points, then this is the build you would be using. But this is under the assumption that you are going to be killing your target by the time you empty your magazine. When it comes to the mods you're going to be using on Sharen, not a lot actually matters here. You take shot focus and walking a tightrope for additional firearm attack percent, which, as we've discussed before, scale extremely well with Sharen. And then if you really want to get sweaty, you can take conditional recharge, which will, on casting a skill, lower your health, and you can use this to force your health into a lower HP range for the sake of walk a tightrope and the annihilation set effect. It's not actually really necessary to do this. If you just want to run shot focus and skip the other shit, you're gonna be fine. I was able to get a 3-second gluttony kill without even having any of these bonuses active, while I happened to have the Slayer set on. I completely forgot to even put these on when I was trying, and I was able to get at least 3-second kill. Now obviously, if you want to push for a 2-second kill or shorter, you would want to be min-maxing these bonuses. Overall, it's pretty fucking stupid. In the background for this video, you've seen me blasting the kneecaps off of numerous Colossi or shooting them in the ass to prove a point, and I'd like you to know that every single Colossus kill was done with the uber-specific gluttony-only build. And even though we were doing body shots on almost all of these guys, we were still fucking them in the ass. While it may seem pointless, I did do it to prove the point that you can build this poorly and it will still be used to great effect. In the end, I'm positive we're gonna see someone like Sen or fucking some other speedrunner pop up with a 2-second kill on gluttony using shotgun Sharen. I think that's inevitable. If there are people crazy enough to gamble with accelerated drive shaft, we will likely see a 1-second kill.